Hey guys, I wanted to walk you through the peer-reviewed assignment. There seems to be a few questions about that, so it seems like a good idea to do it. I'm going to share my screen. All right. So here is the assignment. You've already formed your groups, but you probably haven't done too much work yet. So I just want to go through step one. What you have left to do here probably is you need to decide how you're going to communicate. I suggest some sort of combination of Zoom meetings and texting or email to send the file back and forth, or to use Google Drive, that sort of thing, so that everybody can work on it and have version history and all of that stuff. So for number two, you may or may not have ever had to look into peer-reviewed articles before. I have picked a guide from Bow Valley College, not because I have any particular love of Bow Valley College, but because I thought it was a good guide. They have a few tabs and a video, and I highly suggest that even if you're comfortable looking for peer-reviewed stuff, that you have a look through that. Understand that there are multiple different types of peer-reviewed articles. The one that you're looking for is an original research article. The guide that I gave you here from UC Merced sort of explains what the different types of peer-reviewed articles are. And hopefully, if you have any questions about that, you can reach out to me. So as a group, with that sort of understanding, I think it's a good idea for you guys to do a search kind of, within the kind of general umbrella of your topic. So, if your topic is emotions or neuroscience or something, like pick one of the ideas that I gave you on the post, and they are just ideas, just sort of like keywords that fall under that, to search. And you're going to have to narrow it down, right? Because you can't just search neurons or something and have any sort of useful results. So just make sure that you have search terms that are narrow enough that you're going to come up with results that are interesting to you. And you might have to spend a little bit of real time doing this. My suggestion to you is that everybody kind of do this individually, and then pick one that you really like, and then kind of pitch it to the group, and then decide from there. Like, if Jane has an article about, a twin study, comparing two, schizophrenic versus, bipolar people. And John has an article about, depression or something, like pitch your article to the group and see what the group decides that they want to work with. So once you've done that, everybody should take the article that you've chosen and read it individually. I really do not think that it is a good idea to get on a Zoom meeting and try to read the article together. A, that's going to be really distracting, and B, you're not going to really be able to absorb it yourself, because you're kind of fielding questions from your classmates or whatever. Just go away with the article that you guys found and read it and absorb it and take notes and highlight and think critically about what you're reading. Write down questions as you read. Don't think to yourself oh, I'll just write down the questions after I'm done reading. Don't do that. Write down questions as you read. Make sure you mark where they are in the article so that you can find where they came from. And then after that, I think it's a good idea to come back and meet with the group and discuss all the questions so that everybody has an understanding of what is being written about. So just make sure that that you spend a good amount of time on this step. You know, like it's gonna be difficult to divide up the work into of actually making the presentation and all of that stuff if you have differing amounts of understanding of what it was that you read. So just spend some real time, like as a group, making sure that everybody understands what it was that you read. From there, what you're going to do is you're going to create a presentation. And let me just tell you, 10 minutes goes by really, really fast. And I'm not looking for a 15-minute presentation. So make sure that, you know, you're within the 5 to 10 minute range. And if you have to, you know, do some editing in order to get that done, you might have to do that. So the goal of your presentation is to demonstrate kind of two things. One, that you understand the message of the article, but also that you understand the methodology of the article. So those are kind of two different things. And if you look through chapter 1, section 5, you're going to have a very, very elementary understanding of how to analyze methodology. But within, you know, the information that you've been given in your book and that we, you know, discussed in the module and everything, you should be able to put together something reasonable that explains the methodology of the article that you found. I will say, when you are choosing an article, I would be very wary of choosing a piece of research that utilizes a method that you really do not understand. There are plenty of articles out there in the world that they use a fairly straightforward method, and I really think that for this project it will be much easier to succeed if you pick something relatively simple that you can understand. Okay, and then I go a little bit into, you know, some of the questions that you should be thinking about to explain the methodology. You know, you want to be thorough here. Like, you know, there's two parts to this presentation. You're getting graded on both parts. And so you want to make sure that your methodology is strong. The other thing that you need to do is to accurately convey the message. You know, what's the takeaway here? Why did this get published? Because, you know, I got to tell you, when researchers do a piece of work and it doesn't come up with any useful results, they don't publish. Basically, you know, it is very rare to see a piece of published work that was like, well, we did this thing and we didn't find anything. So there's a message here. They're claiming something. Figure out what it is that they're claiming. Sometimes they're claiming a bunch of things, and, you know, make sure that you include that. All right, what else about this? Yes, make sure you use your full and complete APA formatted citation somewhere in your presentation. Probably a good idea to do that on the title slide. And make sure that you feel comfortable recording your presentation with Canva, Zoom, whatever other program you want in order to record talking over a presentation. You are going to have to rehearse it. I absolutely can tell if somebody has submitted a recording of their first go through, and for this assignment, you know, presentation is part of it. So, you know, go through the assignment, make sure that you understand the rubric so that you know what you're being graded on and how many points are assigned to everything, and go from there. But, you know, your presentation absolutely matters. Okay, so there's some tips here. And that should actually say, do not crowd your slides, plural. Do not crowd your slides with too much information. There is nothing worse than looking at a presentation that is, you know, somebody goes to a new slide and it's just a wall of words. It is terrible. It's hard to read, it's hard to follow. You are busy reading the slide instead of listening to the presenter. Use bullet points and minimal text to show what your commentary will touch on. There's an example coming up. Also, organize your presentation logically, including slides for objectives. You know, like most good slideshows have a slide that says, you know, we're going to be covering this in the presentation. You don't have to spend a bunch of time on that. Like, you don't want to waste your time telling me what you're going to be telling me. But make sure that your presentation has a beginning and an end, right? So the objectives is sort of the beginning, and the concluding slide basically does the same thing, but in reverse. So don't spend a bunch of time on these, but just kind of make sure that they get done, because again, you need a beginning, a middle, and an end. Okay, so people seem to think that if you are talking about methodology, for example, you need to fit the entire methodology on one slide. Please do not do this. You know, especially in a situation like this where, you know, basically the assignment is explain the methodology. It's not going to fit on one slide. It just isn't necessarily. It might if it's very simple, but it is very unlikely to fit all on one slide. It is absolutely fine to you know, say, you know, if you need to take 2 slides to explain one concept, go ahead and do that, but don't go on and on about it, because again, you still have limited time. Okay. So here is an example slide of research question and variables. You are absolutely free to, you know, use something that looks almost exactly like this. The research question, the research design, and then you're going to have to kind of explain it as you go. And then the variables. Folks struggled a little bit when we were talking about variables, independent and dependent variables. So make sure that you guys talk this through and you know which is which. You definitely don't want to make a mistake. Third variables. I'm not sure if your book talks about third variables. I think it probably does. If it doesn't talk about third variables, don't worry about it. Don't remember. But third variables, yeah, I'm not sure that they do. I'm just going to leave that for now. The example commentary for this slide would be, you know, the research sought to answer the question, do big dogs sleep more than small dogs, and used a correlational method with an N of 202 dogs. The intended independent variable was the size of the dogs, and the intended dependent variables were sleep frequency and sleep length. Though there was only one independent variable examined in this research, there were multiple possibilities for third variables, such as dog age, dog health status, dog activity level on the days of measurement, and so on. So it's sort of that level of specificity. Also, don't talk too fast when you are narrating a slide. Like, I would rather see your presentation go to, say, 11 minutes than have you talk a mile a minute and turn in a 9-minute presentation. Like, it is very distracting when there's a slideshow and the presenter is talking too quickly. Okay, so that is the overview of the assignment, and that answers most of the questions that I got. I do want to just go back and re-clarify identifying a topic. So basically, you guys have all gotten umbrella topics. You've all gotten, you know, something like neuroscience or emotions or, you know, child development or human development, I guess it was. You've all gotten some sort of umbrella topic like that. And what you really need to be doing is you need to pick something specific. It doesn't matter whether it was one of the examples that I gave you or not, that falls somewhere under your umbrella, and kind of pick an article and do a deep dive into that. Do not try to find an article that covers everything that is in the list of examples. That's just not a thing. Those are just examples of things that fall under the umbrella of your larger topic. So hopefully that answers that question. If you guys have any more questions about this, you know where to post it in the thread about questions for this week's work, and I will do my best to answer it. Okay, thank you, and I will talk to you guys soon. Also remember, feel free to come to office hours if you need to. All right,